What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, this is a story I remember. I think I covered this when I first started doing news stories a while ago. And in fact, I didn't cover this because this was way before I was on YouTube. I remember this story though, and a lot of you guys do too. It's about this meth whore up here. Yeah, I said meth whore. This woman right here is a piece of crap with a capital C. Crystal Stevens, age 42, in 2018, when she committed this heinous crime out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. Shout out Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, this demon, Crystal Stevens, took the life of this little boy right here. May he rest in peace, Brandon Steckler Jr. He was 4 years old. She was supposed to be babysitting him, because she was a friend of the mother who was currently in a shelter at the time. She wound up killing this boy. She burned him, abused him, and tortured him. Some of the stuff I'm about to show you is beyond words. And I can't imagine anybody doing this to another human being, let alone a 4-year-old little boy. And he wasn't the only child she was watching. He also had an older sister that was there and witnessed a lot of the torment on this little boy, Brandon. But before we go to why we talking about this today, because she just took a plea deal for life in prison to avoid the death penalty. What is justice to you? What is justice to anybody? To me, justice is when the punishment fits the damn crime. But we don't see that. They show pictures of the symbol of justice holding the scale. When is it ever balanced? When it's in terms of justice and punishment. When? Here's the story. Let's go back to the beginning.
An accused child killer will not be leaving jail anytime soon.
A judge has denied bail for Crystal Stevens. The I-Team's Vanessa Murphy first broke this story in July and tells us what unfolded in court today.
Brandon Steckler was abused so badly, prosecutor Jacqueline Bluth says the 4-year-old boy became unrecognizable.
I didn't even know it was the same child. I was blown away.
42-year-old Crystal Stevens is accused of abusing and murdering Brandon. On Thursday, a Clark County Justice Court judge denied her request for bail.
There's an eyewitness that was able to provide some pretty detailed information about what happened.
That eyewitness, Brandon's 5-year-old sister. According to court records, she called Stevens a monster she has nightmares about and told police Stevens would burn, bite, slap, and pop Brandon and also not feed him. Bluth says Brandon had 29 broken bones at the time of his death. And according to records, part of his tongue was torn out. He had numerous other injuries and methamphetamine in his system. Investigators say Stevens, who had been watching the two children for their mother who was staying at a shelter, called police on July 30th, claiming he had drowned. But they found no evidence of drowning. What they did find? Needles, meth, and heroin in the Las Vegas apartment. Brandon died a day later. Even the attorney for Stevens explains recent documents he's been provided don't help her case.
None of that additional material strengthens my motion for bail. Most of it weakens it considerably.
Investigators say Stevens is connected to a spa in Washington state, which was actually a front for prostitution. And she told people she moved here to Las Vegas to be a life coach. Her next court date is set for December. In Las Vegas, Vanessa Murphy, 8 News Now.
She was supposed to be babysitting a child, but today she admits to killing him. Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Denise Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. This is one of the worst cases of child abuse our state has ever seen, and it's one 8 News Now investigator Vanessa Murphy has been closely following. Here she is with the latest, and we do want to warn you first. This story is of a very sensitive nature.
Crystal Stevens admits to killing 4-year-old Brandon Steckler. This is part of a plea deal. What this means, she will spend the rest of her life in prison, but she no longer faces
the death penalty.
I won't ever let that little boy's name be forgotten.
Brandon Steckler Jr. was just 4 years old when Crystal Stevens tortured and murdered him in 2018.
Justice needs to be served here.
This was a friend of the child's father speaking with us, while he said he was too heartbroken for words. Loved ones told us Brandon had autism. They called him Tuku, nickname for too cool. As we uncovered more details about this case, we learned more about the horror Brandon experienced at the hands of Stevens.
In the 10 years I've been doing child cases, this is probably one of the worst I've ever seen.
Jacqueline Bluth, now a judge, was prosecuting the case after Metro Police arrested Stevens. Detectives said she was supposed to be caring for Brandon after his mother, who was in a shelter, asked her to. The mom said Stevens then refused to return Brandon. A couple of weeks later, Stevens called 911 from this Silverado Ranch apartment, claiming Brandon drowned, which was a lie. Authorities discovered excessive burning and bruising to Brandon's body and 27 rib fractures. They say he also had methamphetamine in his system, injuries consistent with sexual assault, and he was suffering from malnutrition, pneumonia, and sepsis. A grand jury indicted Stevens for 27 charges. According to this February 19th agreement we obtained, she pleaded guilty to 3 charges, including murder, first-degree kidnapping, and child abuse. She agrees to a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. A judge will officially sentence her on May 7th.
This is one of those cases where you have to wonder what goes through somebody's mind that would cause them to inflict these kinds of injuries on a defenseless child?
And that's the big question here. Why? We've repeatedly asked Stevens for an interview here in jail. She keeps saying no. We'll see if she offers any type of explanation and apologizes at her sentencing. Reporting in downtown Las Vegas, Vanessa Murphy, 8 News Now.
Vanessa, thank you. Now, the 8 News Now investigators also previously uncovered there were warning signs. According to a child welfare report, Child Protective Services had been contacted 5 times about concerns regarding Brandon and/or his family. CPS only investigated once and found the allegations unsubstantiated. The report also adding CPS was contacted 4 times about Crystal Stevens. The agency investigated twice and found those allegations to be unsubstantiated.
All right, that's the story of young Brandon Steckler and the bullshit that they did in the justice system. I don't give a fuck who get mad. It's bullshit. It is. I want you to look at this little boy. Look at him. Look at him. That's how he looked when he was with his people. For some odd reason, they trusted this woman right here, this animal. Now look at him. Before the time of his death. They said he was beaten so bad, he was unrecognizable. She called police and said he had drowned. There was no evidence of drowning. Did all of this stuff in front of his older sister, who still has nightmares about this woman right here. I want you to pay attention to something. How the hell, and this is the part that make me want to go off on everybody. How the hell did this happen in 2018 and now they just coming with a plea deal in 2025? Over 6+ years for her to admit guilt when all the signs had pointed to her in the first place. So I'm gonna show you something. There are people out here that want to be somebody and chase that dream to be somebody. Now other people that make this fictitious life about themselves, about how great they are, and just play pretend to gain the trust of others for their own advantage. She running around, came from a place where she was doing prostitution in another state, come to Vegas, recreate herself with this story. Oh, I'm a life coach. I'm this, I'm that. Ain't nobody see all them goddamn tracks on her arm? Did you see her in the courtroom? Arms look like somebody took cigars and burned them. Track marks, all kind of shit on her. But you a life coach. What you teaching people? How to be a drug addict? What the fuck was you teaching? Or a child abuser? This is the shit I got problems with. That little boy died quickly, and he suffered the whole way. He was on that ride to the afterlife. But she gets to sit up there, and they slow to administer punishment. All of a sudden, now we in the old days where somebody stands there with a gong and hits the gong, and somebody gives you a lash and says, confess. Confess after they hit you until you confess. It took 5 years, 6 years. Think about it. It took 6 years for you to offer a plea deal. How does that give the family any damn justice? They killed their child. Why is she still breathing? Seriously, why is she still breathing? Brandon had 29 broken bones at the time of his death. Part of his tongue was torn the fuck out, and she gets to live the rest of her life already institutionalized with that stupid ass mean look on her face, reflective of her insides for the rest of her life. She'll get to eat, get to laugh, get to have sex. This little boy never reached his potential. He was autistic, and you knew he was. So you know it was going to be difficulties with handling him. But you took that on because it was some type of incentive. Don't know what it was, but it was some type of incentive for you to hold on to that child. I want you to listen. Says, investigators say Stevens, who had been watching the two children for their mother, who was staying at a shelter, called police on July 30th claiming he had drowned. They found no evidence of the drowning. This is what they did find in the house. Needles, meth, and heroin. According in the Las Vegas apartment, Brandon died a day later. Why the fuck is she still alive? Said the boy had drugs in his system. Don't you think about that? You put drugs in this child because you couldn't handle him. Think about it. He had drugs in the system. We see this a lot. Who is putting drugs in kids? That right there is a death penalty. They have something called capital punishment, meaning the worst crime all against the people of America. And that's your punishment, death. Why she ain't get it? Why she ain't get it? He's 4 fucking years old, don't know anything, just trying to go through life as a kid, and he couldn't even do that. Now, some people say, oh, well, the mom shouldn't have left him with this. Listen. We talk a lot about people that put their children through horrendous conditions. If she had befriended this woman already shows she's a charlatan at trying to convince people of her being this positive figure. We don't know what the relationship was. But for some reason, for her to be trusted enough to give an autistic child that already has its own challenges to a person, there had to be a level of trust there. And she might have just, hey, I'll be in this shelter temporarily. But she couldn't even do that. She couldn't even do that. Every time you tortured him, every instance, you never thought about his mom, never thought about those people. Never thought about, hey, I need to take some accountability in this because I signed up for this and I got to go through it because I gave my word to a friend that I would take care of their child. That's the thing. Nobody loves your children the way you love them, regardless of if they like them or not. You know, having your kids around people temporarily is okay, but when they have to step into the role of you from a nurturing standpoint, a lot of times the outcome is very different, and you see it here. Anytime they have these child abuse cases, they're always heartbreaking. This person is sitting up there saying they didn't do anything to the kid, and standing up in front of a bunch of strangers that are looking at them and all the evidence pointing to them, got them dead to rights, and they'll still sit up there and say, oh, well, it was drugs in the house, but I didn't do nothing to the boy. He did drown. The pathologist said he didn't drown. He did, that dumb shit. You know, when I got to be an adult, when I was a child, I looked up at an adult like they knew everything. They were smart. They were strong. They were this. And then when you become an adult yourself and you're around people of your age, you're like, damn, these motherfuckers are stupid. How did you make it to adulthood? How did you even survive? Because you dumber than dog shit. This woman right here is a snake. And she should have her head taken off. If it was up to me, I'd dismember her while she's alive. No anesthesia, nothing. Because for her to do all of that stuff on different occasions, to have that little boy go from that to that, I got a big problem with it. This is not a human being. This is an inhumane animal, and it should be treated as such. It wouldn't be swift, but it'd be right to the point. You caused horror, pain, and drama when you didn't have to. But because of your own sick, twisted addictions and selfishness, this little boy is gone. He's gone. I want you to let that sink in. Think about this before I get out of here. 4 years old, he was with his parents. Don't know what his life was, but he looked good. He was taken care of. Had a dad in his life. I want you to think about this. All of a sudden, you go from having that life, some unfortunate circumstances that you can't control as a child, you're forced to go with this demon. And everything changes. And every time you're getting fucked up as a little kid, you're thinking about your life of what it was and the people that you know loved you and hugged you, instead of people being replaced with people that hurt you and do crazy stuff to you. That right there is the worst torment I can think anybody can go through. Being uprooted and jumping from a place where you're happy to your own personal hell on earth. That's unacceptable, and it shouldn't be accepted anytime. Fuck this. I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Justice system ain't shit. Jail is easy to get in and hard to get out. Many different cases. You see it all the time with the shit out there. These people don't care. You know why? Because they're in this social state or in a place where they can do a 9 to 5, get paid a lot of money, get accolades, get respect, run around, tell people they're senators, they're this, they're that, and they don't give a fuck about the common people where most of the common problems are happening and atrocities are taking place. You lucky I'm not in control. I would fix all of this shit. In 6 months, I'd clean America up. And it'd be a lot of blood flying and tears flowing. And I wouldn't give a shit about it. I'd be the most hated motherfucker in America. But there'd be peace in the land once again. And everybody would be prosperous. If they choose to be. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.